I was talking to my Sunday school class this morning. I'm already doing it again. I've heard in a lot of my videos I keep saying and saying stuff, so I'm gonna try and not do that. I just have to pretend I'm not talking to my phone and actually talk like I talk to a group of people. So I'm sitting there in front of my kids, and something hit me because I'm constantly encouraging them to not just have one day where you come Sunday, which I believe everybody needs to have. I teach my kids, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Did it again. I may not be able to stop. Maybe that just will be one of my trademarks. There we go again. So I'm talking to the kids this morning, and something really hit me, like as we was talking about different things that we go through, and I have told everybody that I will always tell you the truth. So it hit me that I'm sitting here talking to these kids about faith, and I have 45 minutes to cram in all the truth, all the knowledge, all the hope, all the faith, all the love, all the things that I can give these kids in 45 minutes. So I usually take quite a bit of time to prepare for what I'm going to talk about. Sometimes we get off topic because I'll go around the class and maybe somebody had something happen that week, and I'd rather take it to focus on what they actually went through rather than just talk about what I had to talk about, because that's what I felt like God put on my heart. So a lot of times it'll switch. Today it switched to I use a lot of different verses, like that childlike one. When I was a child, I thought like a child, I acted like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put childish things behind me. You guys will hear me do hood video talk videos, but we were talking about hood 101 and facts 101 and truth 101, and we came up with the 101 because a lot of college courses or classes will have like 101 or 102, or whether it's a classroom or something like that. But the truth 101 came up for some reason, and we basically focused on that. But in being truthful, I also have to, there's sayings I use, like, as a man thinketh, so he is. I use that one all the time, different verses from the Bible that keep me focused on, and it really, I felt even more condemned after I went to church, because I'm always honest with my kids. They know that. I have one of my own daughters sits in the class with me because she's now in high school, and she gets to go to that and as a teenager, and I'm very forward with my kids. They probably hear things and see their dad as a whole different limelight than anybody may ever see me on these YouTube videos, than my Sunday school class may ever see me. If you see me driving down the road like that, that's the one that clicked, because the other day I actually freaked out on my kids. And I did cuss when I was freaking out on them, and I was yelling, and I was super angry because I've taught my kids to always be loving and kind, to always build one another up, to always do the things that you're supposed to be doing, and lead by example. And they were fighting over like the most ridiculous thing in there.
Can I make you some noodles really fast?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sorry for the interruption, but they were fighting over just something stupid, like all kids fight over, but like as they're being children and growing up, and you looked at me wrong, or you touched me, or her leg was on me, or it was just something so pitiful and stupid. And I've grown up with so much death in my life, and people dying around me and losing them over crazy things, and they're just gone. Like, so to sit and fight over things like you touched me or you looked at me or whatever else little stupid kid thing that we're gonna sit there and argue about or act like children and not grown-ups, just hit me really bad that day. I was already arguing with my wife. Because that's normal. It's healthy to have arguments in your marriage. It's not healthy to freak out, cuss, say you're going to leave, divorce, all that other stuff. That's an unhealthy argument. But it is healthy to have arguments and disagreements and relationships and marriages with your kids. But how we have those things come out, that's the key. And what you have to understand about me is I have been a rageaholic my whole life. If you put me to the test, it was like, what is it? What's good? What you want to do? I've always been that way. Like, I can go from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour in like 5.2, like 0.2 seconds. And I've always been that way. It's always like, show me, what's up? What you want to do? What you want to do? And that person, every day I try to work on buried. Now, the Jesus is what I want to come out. When I got saved, after I went to prison, after I did all the things, my dirt, like, I didn't just get out and I was just this changed man. I mean, I was super changed when I read the Bible, when I accepted God into my life. and when I started praying and doing these things, but there was still this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. There's this sinful flesh that kept trying to rise up. It's always trying to rise up, whether it be lust, whether it be looking at someone lustfully, whether it be wanting to freak out on somebody in traffic. Like, that was one of the things brought up at church, and I kind of felt condemned. Like, I get flipped off almost daily. I don't want to say every day, but people don't like the way I drive, or don't like, or maybe God sends those people to me because of how I deal with it. Sometimes, if it's warm out and my windows are down and somebody flips me off at a light or whatever, I usually will say, I already know I'm number one, you don't have to show me. And sometimes that gets me double flipped off, and people get pretty pissed. I get the double fist pump and double fingers and everything else. Sometimes I'll tell people, no, I'm married, but thanks for the offer. And it's not to be a smartass. It's really not, people. But it's to, I could get mad at it. Like, there's some people that have flipped me off at my work, and I've told them, that really doesn't hurt anybody unless you ball them up and make a fist and put it in somebody's face. Not that I'm encouraging people to fight, but I always had little slick sayings and little slick things to do. But I think God sends me some of those people because I don't freak out when people flip me off. I don't. It's funny. Like, all traffic stuff is funny to me now. I get honked at constantly because maybe I'll be like paying attention to something else and the light turns green and I didn't realize, and for God forbid that they're not able to move right when that light turns green, and meh. So I get it. I do. I've been that way my whole life, like freaking out. But once you lose enough people, you start to realize that, what am I freaking out about? Is traffic really that important? Is speeding to get somewhere so important so we can rush? I'm like that with work. I'm like that with traffic. I'm like that with... And I told you I'd always tell you the truth. So the reason I'm making this video is so nobody can ever come and be like, well, this dude freaked out on his kids. We got YouTube video footage of it. Or him freaking out in his car yelling. Or him freaking out on his wife in public. Or, yes, I have a freak out problem. Always have. But I also have a spirit that no matter if I freak out or don't freak out, no matter if I do ever lose my cool and anger because I'm being a childish, stupid idiot, instead of adult-like man who can take a breath, and I'm getting way better at it. Like, it used to be like full-blown crazy fights, punching walls, breaking windows, like, yeah, rageaholic. I tried to explain this to you. Freak out. But now it's more like, do I bite on what my wife said that offended me because I'm being a selfish, proud little arrogant SLB, or do I bite my tongue off and be like, it's not the end of the world? She actually hates that when I say it's not the end of the world, because she's like, I know it's not the end of the world. I didn't say it was, blah blah. But I'm trying to say, like, it's not the end. It's not that important. It's not that important that we're freaking out about this one thing. And if we are, what's the solution? We can always find solutions to things, but I want people to realize, like, as a man thinketh, as we thinketh, so we are. And when I say man, I mean mankind. I mean man or woman. I know that's not proper in today's, whatever, they're coming up with all these YZ, whatever, sex changes and sexual pronunciated pronouns that make no freaking sense at all. But I say sir and I say ma'am. I'm going to continue to say sir and ma'am. I also say man and woman. And when I say man, as a man thinketh, so he is, or she is mankind. So as mankind thinketh, so we are. So what are the things that we think about? What are the things that we keep focused on? We have to change our thoughts to change our lives. The heart doesn't always want to do things. Jeremiah 17:9, you acting all crazy, you got a wretched lean mind. Like, you ain't read Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is wicked above all things. So we don't follow the heart, we follow the spirit. We fight against the flesh. We have to do that daily. I have to fight against my rage. I have to keep Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I have to keep Justin at bay. I have to keep him over here. And I have to keep Jesus coming out. I have to keep Jesus focusing on that. And sometimes Justin steps in and says something slick to somebody or puts somebody down. And then Jesus has to come back and be like, no, get out the way. Move. Get out the way. Get out. That's a little bit. And that's another thing with music. Like, be careful what you're putting in your head, because I don't even listen to a lot of the old school secular stuff. And it still is like in my head and at the back of my hand, just like in this video. So be careful what we put in, because what we put into this supercomputer is going to come out later on. And we have to focus on that. And we have to watch it and we have to guard it, our hearts and our minds. And the spirit has to make war with the flesh daily, constantly. Doesn't mean you won't lust. Doesn't mean you won't look. Doesn't mean certain things. But do I have to sit there and stare? Do I have to sit there and fantasize? Do I have to continually feed that thought or do I marinate on the things that Christ has taught me and told me to do? Those are the things we have to learn to do. I hope that we can let the Spirit lead our lives more than we let the flesh. I hope that we will learn to, and if you freak out on your kids or whatever else, I have always been a big man, a real man, and you apologize. Now, there's times I've had to go to my kids and be like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have used that language, or I shouldn't have used that in that context, or I didn't have to yell. I could have came and talked to you. But I'm not sorry for teaching you those things, because discipline for all children is good, even if it's the wrong way. And I will go and I will apologize if I do the wrong things. My dad was never really good at that. I remember him once telling me, I caught him like saying this to me, but he said, I'm sorry if I did that. He still wasn't even acknowledging. And I love my dad to death. So if you see this, Pops, sorry, but it is what it is. We all make mistakes. I do too. So, but he said, if I did that, and we did it. You did it. Like, there's that pride and arrogance and selfishness and stupidity coming out again. It's not if we did it. It's when we do it, apologize and move forward and grow. And even if you keep doing the same thing, you have to keep apologizing. Keep doing the same things. Keep trying to grow. This is a process. We're all a work in progress. And we need to keep doing the things that we're doing to grow. So daily grow. Daily fight against the flesh. Daily put more of the Spirit in. If it's Bible verses, if it's praying, I wake up, I pray, I say the Lord's Prayer, I go to work. Doesn't mean I'm not always engaging in some of the talk that comes up is just crazy to me. And sometimes I engage in it and I don't want to and I shouldn't, and I work on that daily too. And other times I'm trying to focus on people thinking about greater things other than dick and fart jokes, I guess we'll call them, or locker room talk. Is that some of this nonsense that people say? We don't need to talk about that nonsense. If it's garbage, it's garbage, and it's going to be garbage all the time. And we need to keep growing and doing the things that we're doing to fight against the flesh, to keep it at bay, and to keep our thoughts on the right things. We have to have a spiritual mindset, not a flesh mindset. We have to keep that person out and Jesus coming up, and we have to focus on him, just like Peter did when he was walking to him on water. When Peter walked on top of the water, he was focused on Christ. He wasn't sinking. When he took his focus off of Christ, that's when all the nonsense started to happen and he started to sink. And that's what happens to us in life. We're going to sink if we don't focus on Christ. We're going to sink if we don't daily go to him, not just once a week at church for 30 minutes or a good sermon, which is great if you're doing that. But it's got to be more. It's got to be continually. It's got to be 24/7, 365. And if we're not going to do that, then it starts to just create chaos in our lives. And I know, because I am a strong believer of chaos happens and craziness happens and rage happens and all these things happen when we're not focusing on the Creator that created us and what he desires and wants for our life. So if you ever see me freaking out or doing any of these things, or you've seen these videos, or I'm not gonna lie to people. Like, I'm a truth teller and I believe in the truth. I believe the truth will set us free. And if you're always on the truth, then it will set you free. And for all the times I've freaked out, for all the people I've freaked out on, for all the times I've cussed, freaked out, been a psycho, been this rageaholic, and not Jesus-filled, and not Jesus-like, I'm sorry to all of you people, especially my children, and especially my wife, and especially to my family members and everybody else, but everybody's family. Love your neighbor as yourself, and I love everybody. And I want that to come out. So I hope throughout the years and days, I've grown over the past 10 years that I've been on this path, and I'm going to continue to grow, and I'm going to continue to make mistakes, and daily I have to work on being that better person and not the person that I am in the other parts. So thank y'all, love y'all, and keep growing.